Hey all, and welcome back to Pokémon Sword. This is the ancient city of Hammerlock. It's kind of big, but don't expect to be like doing any kind of dungeon crawling within these castle walls. It's just mainly for show, really. And yes, I'll address this now before we even get into the part proper. We have seen the Pokemon Direct since we last recorded. We will be discussing its contents, not until we get out of Hammerlock though, so just hold on for about 15 minutes while we address lore and character stuff first, okay?
Good lord, we need that watch time.
God, lord, I should just say that every time, just wait X amount of minutes and boom, I'm in the money.
Yeah, that's it. People just skip forwarding every video now, they're defeating the point. Yes.
Those shorts still just make me just question life, really. I'm just like, why? Because somebody else pointed out in the comments, they look like boxer shorts. They don't look like actual shorts, they look like underwear.
Yeah,
and it's just really off-putting.
He's rich, he can dress however the fuck he likes.
You're not wrong, but still.
I don't have to give a fuck, I have billions in the bank, okay? By the way, wishing stars, our champion is great, Galar is great, and that's roughly about the approximation of every single Bead and Rose conversation.
Basically, yes.
Hello. Have you come to admire my shorts as well?
No, we were just eavesdropping, don't mind us.
I see. Actually, random new thing, since we're covering the Direct soon. Pokemon Twilight something or other.
Twilight Wings.
Twilight Wings. It's a series of new animated shorts that are being dropped on YouTube periodically. First one went live today, I believe, was it?
Yeah, well, it's earlier today at the time of recording. I'll say that it's a bit nothingy, but I can see it's got its charm to it, so I think people might like it.
Yeah, I would say it fits into the cute little vignette style, which it's just a cute little addition to the world of Pokemon, although my initial thoughts were, why are these folks talking American? For the love of God, this is set in England. Use English accents for the love of all that is perfect with the world.
No, because then they would have had Americans putting on English accents and it would have sounded much worse.
Wow, by God, I do love the Queen and whatnot. I think our Pokemons are actually back from their jobs now. I neglected to bring them up in previous parts, but hey, they're safe in the box. I don't have to attend to them every single second of the day.
It's fine, they're waiting to be let back into the Pokeball after their day of slave labour.
Bless up, fam, bless up. But yeah, the Twilight thing, very wholesome. Actually, a good deal of character development for Rose that sadly is not part of the game. He really needs to come back in a future game and maybe have a redemption arc, because those 6 minutes gave him about as much character as the entirety of this game did, but in a good way.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that potentially, because obviously we have got, DLC conversation is going to happen later, but obviously we have got extensions to the story coming in said DLC, so there's every chance that we'll see a little bit more of Chairman Rose there, but obviously more conversations on that when we get to it. We're still in Hammerlock right now.
Indeed, and now it is time to get fancy and whatnot, because I just have money burning a hole in my pocket. I'm not exactly going to be spending it on, fancy TMs and whatnot anymore.
So you just get the clothes that all look bad on the male character. He really doesn't have anything interesting going on.
Well, the DLC, again, more of which later. I'm going to stop saying that soon, I promise, because it's just get more repetitive than Steven Universe talking down a villain, honestly. Yeah, Flame is completely right. They prioritise the female so much when it comes to the fashion. For good reason. She's cute. Clothes just happen to work better on her than they do on the male trainer. But the DLC is bringing some new clothes into the mix, much like a Marnie costume and also a Chairman Rose costume, which looks really weird on a younger character, almost like he's bring your son to work day or something like that.
Basically, yeah. It's one of the things though. There's more you can do with clothes for a female character, and I do my character has got the red hair, red pigtails, and like the red jacket. So I know both you, Tom, and a couple of other people have pointed out that she ended up looking like a Team Flare character.
Yes, actually. Team Flare costumes are actually part of the upcoming DLC.
Yeah, like, we might as well just talk about the costume stuff now since we're there.
Yeah.
Like, one of the things that I think we did discuss was, like, the potential of having costumes based on characters in the games, and obviously they are actually doing that, and that, when I saw that, I was just like, yes, come on, that's exactly what we want you to do. And I just think it was the right move to make in that sense, because it's something that I think people have been wanting for a while, and the outfits in this game were a little bit lackluster for the male characters, so having more options is always welcome.
A little bit of creepiness in the Pokemon game. You may not have figured it out yet, but your brain did. We'll be back after we've delivered the letter later in the game. Are these sweets something you give to Milcery or whatever to hold, and that's like how they determine what they'll look like when they evolve?
Yes. So I think what you do is you give it the sweet, and then you've got to do the spin, and then it'll evolve.
Well,
Which another one of those really weird evolutionary routes, but I do think that's probably quite a fun one.
I seem to recall you have to do it at a certain time of day as well, so you're churning the butter at the right time of day, and then it just happens to evolve into a Pokemon. But enough about creameries and such. We are actually very close to the final gym of the entire game. It is nice to like have a glimpse of what's to come and whatnot, even if the city isn't like the most dense with like stuff to see and stuff to do. Oh my god, he's so kawaii.
I will say that Hammerlock it looks really cool to see. It is just underwhelming of how much of it is barred off that you can't get to. Like, it's probably the most egregious example of that. Like, I know we talked about earlier how there was like the station in the background that you couldn't get to. Well, it's like we've got a whole massive fucking castle thing going on, that there should be all kinds of different back routes and that. But no, it's like just the long path around the front, and that's about it.
Yeah, essentially, if you were hoping for this place to be like Alchemoth from Xenoblade Chronicles, you're going to be sadly disappointed.
Yeah, it really isn't. It's big in terms of Sword and Shield town sizes, but it's not that big. It's probably about the same size as Motorstoke, but it is that sort of long stretching corridor.
Well, Motorstoke has more areas you can actually go to, isn't it? It's like the front area is a lot bigger in Motorstoke, whereas here it is literally just one road.
Yeah, but I will say, it looks amazing.
Ah, good. Leon, I was hoping someone would come along and railroad me, because God knows I don't know which direction to travel in, honestly.
If only we had like a map or something that would show us where the different areas are.
That's stupid. Such a concept doesn't exist in this world.
Clearly not. Oh, clearly Leon's never seen one before, given his running joke.
It's such a weird quirk. He's like, oh, he's the best champion in the whole of Galar. Doesn't know his left from his right.
I feel like this is one of them, like, desperate last-minute attempts of thinking, oh, we've made this character too perfect, come up with something quick.
Oh, he's clumsy, look at that now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that does tend to happen quite a lot.
Poor Hop, he's been mind-broken. Oh, alas, alas for him.
Phrasing.
You know what? I regret the words, even now. Even now, Flame. Okay, so yeah, just keep following the road and we'll meet Raihan, who is actually the last gym leader of the game. He's the same across versions, so you're always going to be fighting him to claim your last badge. He's the dragon guy, because what would Pokemon be without dragon towards the end of the game?
Of course, and Raihan's pretty cool, but, you know, since we're sort of still running about a little bit, and there is sort of going to go full lore in a minute, we might as well just sort of say, you know, name origins for Hammerlock.
Okay.
So, Hammerlock, so it comes from the move Hammerlock, it's a form of a shoulder lock, and lock, which is a type of lockable enclosure. In Japan, it's called Knuckle City. In German, it's Claw City. In Spanish, it's Ciudad Arteo, which Arteo is knuckle. The French call it Kickenham, which is amazing.
I kind of like that one, yeah.
Yeah, and then hum, which is a British town suffix for a farm or a homestead. And then in Italian, they call it Knuckleberg, or Knuckleba. So Knuckle and Berg, which is a town suffix for a fortified enclosure.
Neat.
Although, obviously, it's probably like Knucklebur, because obviously Edinburgh.
Now, Flame, question for you. When I say the word vault, what do you expect to be, like, inside of said vault?
Something actually valuable, rather than just a big empty room.
Well, today's not your lucky day, I'm afraid.
Yeah, like, this, I feel like you could have done more in, like, having a vault specifically for expositing lore and whatnot, rather than just one room that we're going to see shortly. You could, like, even just in the background there in the front room, like, you could actually give us more than just a shelf for trophies.
Well, nitpicks. That's all this is, nitpicks. Really, you're wrong and I am right.
Well...
I'm just playing Dragon's Advocate over here, alright?
Isn't that what you say when you're wrong?
Yeah, it kind of is, actually. Alright, here's a nitpick. Why are the torches lit? It's not even night yet.
Because someone would have to go and keep blowing them out and relighting them every day if you didn't.
Well, that, and they'd have to make two different models, one for day and one for night.
Well, I mean, like, that is a basic layering thing. That wouldn't take that long.
Here we go. Get ready for some lore. Bayo Tapestry style, son.
Not quite by a tapestry, because that's one long tapestry, but I know what you're going for.
Yes, I say things in dumb ways that Rishi can say in smart ways, essentially.
The guy on the left one, the one that just went off screen, it looked like he'd slipped over and fell on his arse.
Like, what? Oh, whoa, Jesus! Dude, lightning, we've never seen this before. Personally, I'd be more shocked at the floating sword and shield myself.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see. In Motorsoak, there was one statue, one champion, but here there are two heroes. What's the deal?
And when we get to Circus, there'll be three of them, right?
You never know with this game. It could throw anything at you in terms of this lore, and it's weird how this lore happens because, like, while there is, I think, evidence in the past of certain people being merged into one. That's mostly happened in, play versions of history. So, like, if you look at Shakespeare's histories, I think there are a lot of characters in there which are amalgamations of real-life people. But in terms of actual history, there's not really that much evidence of it happening.
Well, I suppose it depends what pop culture you've let influence your understanding of history, really, isn't it?
Yeah. You're not wrong.
You didn't need to talk to me. I saw the thing, it was cool. I'm just going to get on with my journey now and whatnot.
You're the one who carries the phone around. Couldn't you have just, taken a picture of the tapestries and sent it to me, save me having to climb all them stairs?
I am amazed that they actually allow, photography equipment in there.
Well, they've got to document it, haven't they?
Well, you see, that's the whole thing with tapestries, is you'd probably be allowed to photograph it, but it'd be under very set circumstances. You won't be able to use a flash, and there'd be a lot of care taken to look after it, because that's what happens with all sorts of fabrics that go in museums these days. Even paintings, you can't take a photo of the Mona Lisa, you're not allowed.
Oh, can't I just take it home and put it on the scanner?
Yeah, I'll bring it back, I promise. Oh, it's a new Pokémon.
I do like Silicobra. It's a cute little design. It feels weird to be describing a snake Pokemon as cute, but they managed to pull it off.
Well, there's the Zodiac theory for fire starter Pokemon, and if all goes according to plan, maybe, in Gen 9, we'll have a snake, a fire snake.
Yeah, I mean, what have we got left in terms of the Zodiac? I know we've got...
Let me bring it up here.
I mean, it doesn't tally completely, but you can, make some...
Right.
Wrangle it around a little bit and you get close enough.
Okay, Pig is obviously Emboar.
Tepig.
Yeah, Tepig. Dog is Fennekin. Canine, Fox, yeah. Rooster, Torchic. Monkey, Chimchar. Dragon is technically Charizard, even though it's not a dragon type. Rabbit, Scorbunny. Obviously, Tiger, Litten, and Rat is Cyndaquil. So what we have left is ox, snake, horse, goat, I believe.
Well, horse as a fire type's been taken by Rapidash already, so they'd have to do something to make that one quite distinct, I feel.
Yes. But, I mean, a fire goat could be really fun.
Yeah, like a proper ram and whatnot, that'd be pretty lit. Kind of what I wanted Wooloo to evolve into, really, but that's neither here nor there. Now it is time to talk about DLC and whatnot, because it's going to be quite a while before we reach Stow on Side. So, 2 DLC packs are upcoming. One is the Isle of Armor, the other is the Crown Tundra. Who wants to go first?
Well, I will point out the biggest problem with this DLC in that the one called the Isle of Armor spells the word armor incorrectly.
Agreed.
Yeah, there's no U there, there's no U.
Which is, like, Gallo is based on the UK, you can at least use our proper spelling, come on guys.
No, not when everything is handled by American localization teams and such.
Nintendo are really bad with this, like, Paper Mario Color Splash never got localized properly either.
Well, on the plus side, Sonic Colors did. So how how do we feel about just the concept of like additional areas being, for lack of a better word, paywalled? Are you fine with paying for extra content, given how bare bones, for lack of a better word, the main campaign and post game of Pokemon Sword and Shield are? Richie, how about you?
Right. So I will say, I am very much okay with the DLC of Isle of Armor and Crown Tundra. I think it is a much better practice than the third versions that we've had in the past, which have obviously only added a little bit of extra content, and you're paying for exactly the same game. And something that Jim Sterling also pointed out in a recent video that he did was the whole practice of Pokemon, you know, the 2 versions that they've done since the beginning.
Yeah.
That's basically paywalling content behind sort of 2 versions of the game. So if you wanted everything, like that's 3-4 versions of ultimately the same game.
I'm gonna disagree with that point. While it is obviously a money-making tactic, it's to encourage people to trade.
Yes, I mean totally. It's one of those things where obviously there's the noble thing of getting people to trade and talk and stuff, but it is also fully it's to get more money. But both they can be the same thing at the same time.
So, let's talk about the actual places and what we're getting here. 200 Pokemon are being added back in. Whether this counts towards like the new ones they showed, like there's 2 new Regis, which I'm very excited about.
Oh yes.
There's Kubfu and Urshifu, a bear-like legendary and its evolution, which can be found on the Isle of Armor. You get given it by Mustard, who is going to be your mentor there in a kind of like karate sort of thing. And basically, as you train with Kubfu, it will evolve, and it can either become a fighting and dark-styled Pokemon, or a fighting and water style, and that's a very interesting one to me.
I mean, it'd be more interesting to me if it wasn't for Poliwrath, but either way, it is still a really cool idea.
Yeah, the bear legendaries, I will say they're not my favourite legendary designs by any means. They're kind of cool, I suppose. Like, the whole different forms and one of them being water, you know, that I can kind of appreciate. It's something a bit different, but still. Yeah,
and there are going to be 2 potential gym leaders who will be your rivals in, like, respective versions. Sword gets, what was her name, Kyra?
Clara, I think.
Clara, that's the one. Yeah, she's a poison type user, and Avery is the shield one. So once again, Sword Chad's winning with the waifus and whatnot. But yeah, it's kind of interesting how it's like, oh, they're potential gym leaders. They're training up. They're not even minor league right now. Don't worry, Hop. You'll get over it. You have to undergo character development and be forged in fire before you can truly become great. But I don't think there's much else to talk about for the Isle of Armor beyond the fact that it and the Crown Tundra are going to be one big wild area. So
yes,
that's good. I'm looking forward to that. It's got all the things you would expect from the wild area, like raids and, you know, co-op and stuff like that. Honestly, between the 2, while the Isle of Armor seems great, the Crown Tundra is the one that kind of sparks my interest, really, because it's one big, like, icy wilderness, and like there's there's like ruins to find, Pokemon to scope out and whatnot. A very Chairman Rose looking individual there as well. It might be his brother, might be his father, I don't know, might even be a cousin. I've heard people say he might be related to Raihan, actually, which is kind of interesting.
Is it the Frozen Tundra one that's got the Galarian forms of the birds?
Yes.
Yes, it is. There were Galarian forms, at least that's what we're speculating right now, it wasn't said outright, of Moltres, Articuno, and Zapdos, and it looks like they're going to be differently typed. Weirdly, Galarian Moltres has, like, Salazzle colouring to it, so it might be dark and fire, or whatever. Articuno strikes me as either a Psychic or a Ghost type, and Galarian Zapdos doesn't even look like it flies anymore, so it might be, like, ground and electric or something.
I like the idea of Zapdos being an electric ostrich. That just sounds really fucking cool.
That was just really awesome. Like, seeing those designs was just one of the things of going... Because one of the things that I certainly did not expect coming out of the DLC, I mean, for starters, was not expecting DLC. I think we can all agree that that's not what we were expecting.
I was expecting a third version, yeah.
Yeah, third version, new generation, something ridiculous. Weren't expecting DLC, so I was quite happy with that sort of surprise. But yeah, just sort of some of those designs for the Galarian forms were just like, and the fact that we're getting new legendaries. I think this is probably the first time. Maybe there was one previously, but I would say it's definitely one of the first times in recent memory where we've had brand new legendaries created and introduced into the game that weren't already there.
Well, I think what's happening there is that because this is the first time they're doing it as additional downloadable content rather than through events and whatnot, this is the first time people haven't been able to data mine it. Because usually there have always been extra legendaries that kind of come about later in the gen. It's just we usually know about them on day one because they had to put them in the game data.
Now, it's funny you mentioned extra legendaries because also on the Crown Tundra, we're actually going to be able to go into Pokemon dens, and with other people in co-op and whatnot as well. Now, we've seen a little bit of a Pokemon den. It's that big purple, field whenever, you face a Dynamax in a raid. But actually going inside normally, yeah, that's a new thing, so I'm looking forward to that. And I did have to laugh. They flashed up basically every legendary except the Swords of Justice.
Yeah.
God, I don't like those guys. I'm sorry, I just don't.
That's the Kabalion Viridian.
Yeah, that's
the other one. Sort of like the other one. But yeah, I like Kabalion. Kabalion's cool.
Oh, yay! Finally, he's becoming useful.
Yes, my son, become useful. Go out and zap to the extreme. Yeah, it might be low key, but I'm fucking amped right now.
Definitely.
Come on, the bassist deserves love too.
True. Imagine your favourite song without the bass. That's right, it's shit is what it is.
The White Stripes are crying.
Yeah, 15,000 volts of electricity, and please give me a move worth of shit. Spark, it will do.
It's better than nothing.
It sure is, my friend, it sure is. Hey, you want to hear a joke? A musical joke?
Go on, then.
What do you call a guy who hangs out with musicians?
It's a drummer, isn't it?
It's a drummer, yeah. How do you know a drummer is knocking on your door? The beat is out of time.
God.
Thank you. So, back to DLC talk and whatnot, because we've still got a ways to go here. I think the only thing left to discuss in terms of content and whatnot is Galarian Slowpoke, which will possibly have 2 Galarian forms. We'll be seeing him later in the playthrough, actually, because I have to go back to... I think it's Wedgehurst, the Wedgehurst train station, and we'll be seeing Clara there, and that's where we can actually pick up a Slowpoke. I doubt we'll be using it, because the item to evolve it won't come until the DLC, which is whatever. But there's like a Slowking sort of thing that they kind of hid, which will be interesting to see. Flame thought it was a fire type. I'm thinking it's poison type. When it evolves, anyway.
It's pure psychic.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah, which, like, it's because in the trailer they showed it using that attack that looked like a fire move. And I thought, oh cool, it's going to be a fire-type Slowpoke, that'd be really cool. But no, it's not, it's just pure psychic.
It looked like acid though, Flame, so I don't understand your thought process.
It was orange, it looked like fire. I'm very simple, okay?
Okay, fine. And the last Pokemon to discuss, besides the Regis themselves, which will probably be a Dragon type and an Electric type, respectively, is it Calyrex?
Is that the ugly deer thing?
That's the Galaxy Brain deer thing, which was said to rule over just Galar as a whole, or at least a portion of Galar. And you look at it, and it's like, oh, obviously it's the crown, but it also looks like a scepter, the head of a scepter as well.
Yeah.
It's a fucking shit design, is what it is. Like,
It's not.
It is. Like, everything about it looks odd. Like, the whole brain thing looks reshaped. It's like it's got a really squished face, and the legs are like the most basic bitch fucking cartoon character legs out there.
Well, when you're a Galaxy Brain, you don't need to walk everywhere. You can just float. That's why he spends all of his time in the library getting more brain.
It's just a bad design. You don't have to come up with this sort of bullshit for it.
Well, fuck you. I like it. It's not my favourite legendary. I need to see it in action, personally.
Agreed.
It'll need to look a lot better in motion for me to come around to it, I'll say that much.
It's interesting, though, because it's the only legendary so far in Galar that is super effective and like has stab against Eternatus. So, no wonder it was the king at one time. Maybe it lost to Eternatus. Maybe that's why it's hidden in the Crown Tundra now, because it's just licking its wounds and whatnot. But I guess if, like, that thing is the brain or the crown, the sword and shield is obviously, the duo dogs, and I guess the armor is Urshifu. I don't know how he fits into the legends, personally.
Well, obviously he is the armor because it's the Isle of Armor, but besides that, something else that's also really cool about the Isle of Armor and the Crown Tundra is that they've officially confirmed that the Isle of Armor is based on the Isle of Man, and the Crown Tundra is based on Scotland.
Neat.
Which would be cool if we didn't already have a load of ice areas in the game as it is.
Yeah, and also Scotland is an icy tundra. It's, it's relatively mountainous, but it's not that.
Right. Now we come to the big question. Is it right to sell DLC for Pokemons when the game is bare bones as it is?
Well, I feel like it's because it's this generation that they've started doing this in, that it feels like it's got that extra bit of an insult to it. Because, like, one of the big criticisms of this game is that there's a lot less post-game than what we used to from, like, Sun and Moon. Mm-hmm. And so I can kind of see where people are coming from when they feel a bit gypped, in the fact that, like, we're used to having a more substantial post-game. This one doesn't have that, but now they're selling us, like, this, basically what would be a post-game quest. So I can kind of see where people are coming from. I feel like if it's done well, it won't sting as much. Like, if the actual, like, story side of things is substantial enough, like, maybe people will give it a pass. But, like, it's that, and it also ties into the fact that the dex has been cut and now they're slowly bringing it back. So again, it kind of feels like stuff's been nibbled out beforehand. I know you're about to go fanboy here, Tom, it's fine.
Sorry, what?
I heard the sigh that normally means that...
No, I'm just disagreeing with you, Flame. You don't need to throw out fucking ad hominems and whatnot, mate.
Okay, fanboy. No, but...
Like, the year they had to make the game was just not substantial enough to put all the stuff in. Now, if you want to argue that maybe they should have been given more time to put stuff in, I'm absolutely there with you, day one. If you want to argue that stuff was deliberately cut to sell as DLC, I'm going to say no, because A, it's got a different director, and B, it would have had to have, like, been developed alongside the games, and also it's still not finished. If it was finished, it would have been a February release or something, I believe.
Well, see, this is, like, I'm not coming from the angle of, like, they deliberately cut off this part that they realised they could make more money from.
Really? Because that's what you sounded like, Flame, to be honest.
No, what I'm getting at is that it feels like what is a sole game problem of the game itself feels underwhelming. It feels like that, like the problem from that is being passed on from what really should be a TPCI problem, in that they're the ones who rushed out this game that clearly feels a bit undercooked, and now it's becoming the paying consumers problem of they're having to pay for something that, if the game was given more time, could have been there to start with. That's kind of where I'm coming from there. It feels like it's not like they're maliciously or like doing it or being like, I don't think Game Freak themselves are being greedy about it. I feel like it's a publisher problem being pushed onto consumers. That's what it feels like to me.
Yeah, I get you on that one. I think probably part of the problem, it is because it's Sword and Shield and everyone's really divided on Sword and Shield and how much is in it and how much is not in it, etc, etc, etc. Ultimately, there is nothing inherently wrong with doing DLC for it, because as Nintendo have proven in others of their games, their DLC packages have generally been pretty substantial and pretty good from what I can tell. So there's nothing inherently wrong with that. And I personally don't think there's anything wrong with doing it with Sword and Shield, because I got what I wanted to out of Sword and Shield. I had a good time, and it's just more content. But I do understand the perspective of people who feel frustrated, but I agree that it's clearly not stuff that was just sort of cut out because they wanted to sell more stuff. My suspicion with the whole adding 200 Pokemon in element is that they saw the reaction of Dexit, because they probably weren't expecting to have that much backlash, and so have tried to basically roll back a bit and say, let's try and get in as many Pokemon as we physically can into this DLC. Obviously, people are going to be able to get those Pokemon whether they download the DLC or not. They just need to, get the updates, and then it's a case of using Pokemon Home or whatever to import them in. So my suspicion is that's what's happened there, but then I don't know why they didn't just say that if that was the case.
PR, mate, it's a bit of a catch-22 situation. Either you admit that you don't have enough time to put them all in, or you come up with an excuse and take fire anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I think what my recommendation in terms of their PR would have been is effectively saying, we heard you, we made the decision for this because of whatever bullshit reason, but we made that decision, we realise that this isn't what you wanted, and so we're doing our best to bring back as many as we can in the time that we have available. And while there would still be some people that would be frustrated, there's that level of honesty to it, and also it shows that they're listening, and I think that that's something that the Pokemon fan base seems to really want. They want Game Freak to listen to them. Whether they should is a different kettle of fish, but they want to be listened to, and showing that they're listening would help smooth over some of those issues, I think.
I don't think it was a reaction at all. I think it just wasn't ready. Just like the Gigantamaxes for the 3 stars and like Venusaur and Blastoise. I just feel since the whole project was rushed, it simply wasn't ready in time. So why not, make it as part of a free update, and you just have to either have someone who already has the DLC trade stuff with you, get it via surprise trade, link trade, whatever, or just simply, trade it via home from a previous thing. Now, you should say, why aren't I able to catch them? That feels like a paywall. And my response to that is, what is the difference between going out and catching them yourself or trading the ones you've already caught from a previous game? It's roughly the same amount of time, and not only that, you've not really been able to catch every single Pokemon in any game before this anyway. So it's kind of a non-issue and a false complaint more than anything.
Yeah.
What I kind of feel like, if we're going back to what Richie's saying about how, if they want to make it come across better, then just show that they're listening to criticism. I feel like the way they could possibly get goodwill in that respect is if when Home comes about, if they just patch in the rest of the Pokemon. So, you don't necessarily have to make extra story content or new areas or whatever, but just, that would fix the problem that people had with the Dex cut in the first place, in that they want to be able to bring across their Pokemon from previous games. Because I feel like that was a bigger crutch of what people didn't like about the Dex being cut, more so than I can't catch all these Pokemon. It's more, I have these Pokemon I would like to bring them onto the new console game, but I can't.
Yeah.
So I feel like if it especially becomes more apparent now, the fact that they've bumped it up from, they've added another 200 or so. So, at this point, you're edging towards it.
Yeah, I think
eventually you should be able to just bring the rest in.
I feel like there's going to be at least a couple more DLC packs coming that will add the rest of them, or at least another 200 or so.
Well, the thing is that so we've got about, I think it's just about 500 in Sword and Shield. So an extra 200 odd takes us up to 700, and if there was then another 200 on that later down the line, that would basically be the entire Dex.
I mean, the only UK-based area they've yet to adapt, including the two new areas, would be Ireland. So
it'd be Ireland / Northern Ireland / Wales.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe combine those two and have a separate island. That's sort of the Battle Frontier, where the last 150 remain, the toughest Pokemon out there or whatever.
Well, they won't be the toughest Pokemon out there, but I get where you're coming from with that. Yeah.
Yeah, just as an an extra post-game thing that you could get. The patch in the rest of them sort of area.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, if you want to fork out $30 for those two things, and it is 30, it's not 60, it would be 60 if you bought it for both Sword and Shield versions, but just on its own, it is roughly about 26 quid, $30 or so.
Yeah, which, I mean, as long as it's sort of a reasonable amount of content, a few hours on each, if I can get about maybe an 8-hour game's worth out of that DLC, then that seems about on par for me with a lot of other games. So.
Well, I don't think you're going to be getting that amount story-wise. If you were to add in raids and specific Gigantamaxes to catch and catching the legendaries, that could bump it up to 10 hours plus easily. Story-wise, I don't think anything more than say the Delta episode or something like that. Hopefully better than the Delta episode, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You'd better have a fucking Kino section the fucking end of the Delta episode. That was lit.
Oh lord!
I mean, yes.
I may not like the lead up to it, but that shit was it was tight as fuck. And that was our talk on the DLC for Sword and Shield. I hope you liked it. It certainly helped fill out a part.
Yeah, well, if there is one last thing that we sort of brushed past it, the debate as to whether the DLC works better than having an enhanced version, say Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon. This is something that I've been thinking back and forth on a little bit, in that I think that this works better in a consumer-friendly sort of way, in the fact that you're not rebuying a whole extra game. But I also feel like a lot of the problems that people had with the base game, they're not the sort of things that you can fix with a post-game DLC. So I can kind of see why people would want the main game improved, because having an extra island to go to after the fact, that doesn't fix the fact that the main story feels really rushed, or the fact that the main story is really insubstantial, or that it just brushes you along really quickly to the next area. They're all problems that you can't really fix like that unless you were to go the fucking Final Fantasy 15 approach, which I don't think anyone wants.
Yeah.
Although I really do not like the practice of let's just release the game as is, then fix it up a couple of years later and resell it. I can kind of see why this is a particular generation where people might want a better version of it later down the line.
Yeah, I think I even said, it might not have been in this playthrough, but I've definitely mentioned it to either you or Flame before, or Richie. If there was any version that would have been, well, it would have benefited from a third game, it would have been Sword and Shield, but
yes.
I guess we're not getting that now, but at least the benefit is, once you get the DLC and it's ready, you can just go to the new content like that. You don't have to play through 15 hours just to get to it.
Oh yeah, definitely, and I think that's the thing that I definitely appreciate. It makes it more likely that I will go back to it, because even though I would have ended up forking out for a new version of Pokemon I'd do every bloody time, I'm in the trap. But it does mean that it's a bit more freeing, and I don't have to worry about going through the same game all over again.
Okay, but let's be honest here, there's still a good possibility that in 2021 we could end up with like a definitive version with the DLC included and maybe a few other tweaks.
Yeah, you're
like,
not
this
wrong.
is Pokemon, they're gonna milk it all they can.
I even suggested that they should do a definitive version with the DLC added in. I'm still thinking there's going to be a DLC pack 3 or something down the line, so
Yeah.
maybe it will be after that, and right now they'll be working on Diamond and Pearl remakes and whatnot, and I still think that's going to happen this generation.
I'm not sure about this gen, maybe next gen.
Oh, he didn't have a Pikachu in his gob.
Well, it's random, mate. Cramorant here, its Gulp Missile, or whatever it's called, ability, allows it to pick up an arrow Scooter or a Pikachu randomly when it uses Dive, etc. and basically chuck it at the enemy. Even when it's fainted, you're not safe from it.
Yeah, like, I will say, this Pokemon, I do kind of like its design, but I always keep forgetting it exists until he throws the fucking thing out.
Yeah, a little bit.
I like how we've all just kind of gone, right, so we've had that conversation. One thing that I do quickly need to mention before the end of the part, because obviously it was part of the direct, and since this is the direct conversation part, oh my god, Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Rescue Team DX, that made me so happy.
Looks good.
Yeah, even though like there was only like a tiny portion of it in the direct, and I perhaps would have liked a new Pokemon Mystery Dungeon game rather than a remake. Either way, I do really love that game, and I'm really excited to get to revisit it in sort of brand new, wonderful graphics. And it basically just means that now I want them to remake Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Explorers of Sky, because that remains the best Mystery Dungeon title out there, and I would love to revisit that one again.
It's just nice to see that they haven't forgotten the spin-offs, really, you know?
Oh god, yeah. Well, I've forgotten some of the spin-offs.
Like, where's my Colosseum 3? Come on, guys.
Oh, where's Typing 2, you motherfuckers?
Where's Ranger 4?
Yeah, I would like to have a new keyboard for the Switch. Like, I actually have the one for the DS. As someone who can touch type normally on a normal keyboard, having to readapt to the tiny little one they give you is kind of hard work. But like, yeah, the Pokemon series has had quite a few spin-offs that I would like to see refreshed. I'd like a new trading card game like single player one, because I like me trading card game online, but you know, it's not the same.
And, you know, I would like a new Pokepark. That was a game I wanted since a child, just going around doing minigame shit with Pokemon and whatnot in a 3D environment. But I'm not sure if they're even, like, around anymore, the team who made that, so...
I like how we're just listing off everything we want as though, like, Masuda's there with his notepad just writing down everything we want right now.
Well, you see, you never actually know. It's highly unlikely. It's very, very unlikely. But you never know who watches these things. Sometimes you might get the one person who happens to, and then they go and work at Game Freak and go, you know, these people had a good idea, and let's implement it. But
I'm now just imagining, like, Masuda sitting there with his translator just asking, like, what are these obnoxious Englishmen talking about?
They are just Galar Gaijins. Pay them no heed.
They wouldn't even shut up on me birthday, Jesus.
Oh, that was so shitty. Like, just for reference's sake, and this doesn't really take much explaining. He was on Twitter, was Masuda, and some dude was asking him, like, pestering him, I guess. That's what I heard anyway, about the DLC, and he's like, could you not? And that was it. That was basically the equivalent of the exchange.
Basically, yeah. I got a bit of a giggle from it, because it's like, dude, log out. It's your birthday, enjoy yourself, don't listen to all this on your birthday.
Yeah.
yeah, the one thing I will say to that is that sometimes when it's your work and your life, it's very hard to switch off, especially when it's on social media, because generally social media is also your personal platform, and so you do end up with that. This is my social stuff, but also it's work, and I don't know how to compute.
Well, that's a just modern day working life thing in general, isn't
Yes,
it? Like the
it
amount
is.
of people who just have like their emails on their phone and just constantly checking up on that even when they're off hours and stuff. Which, I mean, for people who have real jobs like you, that's probably a real problem. For me, where my job is like, I'm going to take a break from playing video games to play video games. Like,
Oh, bless.
Yeah, it's such a serious adult life I lead.
By the by, if you want to see us play Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, DX, whatever, feel free to commission it via patreon.com/HellfireComms. I very rarely shield during the episodes, okay? I'll leave that for the end card. Cut me some slack here.
It's only a matter of time before shilling just becomes a tick like every other YouTuber, don't worry.
Look, man, shit's expensive, alright? I tried getting the most optimal team, but I just couldn't cut it. Darn, why did I send a baby to fight?
Yeah, that was a silly move.
Yeah, well, Lee is the greatest trainer, but you can never really find the spotlight if you're always in his shadow.
Yeah, which is kind of the theme they're going for with Hop's character arc, which it is a good thing to go for, especially like with his conflict with Bede and him losing and him worrying about letting Lee down. That I feel like they don't really go into it until right in the post game, and even then it's still a little bit gushed over.
I like Opal, by the way. She's a very interesting character. We'll be seeing more of her later. Oh, by the by, you see how it says the name and whatnot for these characters? Apparently a recent update broke that, so it doesn't show anything, no?
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Just a little tidbit. Well, coming up next is the fighting gym, and I was woefully unprepared for this, so get ready for a bit of a clusterfuck.
Weren't you woefully unprepared for the last couple of gyms as well?
No, I pretty much stomped Kabu, mate.
Well, I know the water one you definitely were, so I can still take the piss over that.
No, that went pretty smoothly. I just didn't use stab at all.
Pouring electric type.
Yeah, also, why are you using items when you could go to the Pokemon Center?
Because I don't want to backtrack, Mr. Man.
It's literally like less than a minute's walk.
Don't care. Don't
It
care.
would have been quicker than going through the menu here.
I don't care. Lava cookie straight from Hoenn.
Oh, you left a little bit. It's not like Kratos there isn't completely healed. You better go back and use a potion on him.
It's fine. We're going to be sending hate in to do damage anyway, although spoilers, I don't think it's going to end very well. In any case, you'll have to wait until next time to see how the Stow-on-Side gym goes, so we'll see you next time. Bye-bye for now.